Hi, good evening, guys. Welcome to another Forest Frame. Another chat with another photographer. This photographer is new in the field of photography. Well, he's been doing it for a long time now, so I think he's pretty much up there, as in good what he does as macro photography. Why macro? We do macro photography in the forest, and it is a part of the kind of forest frame genre of things we like to talk about. And maybe I'll try it myself, but nothing too soon, of course, because I'm still not up to scratch doing that type of photography. As you know, everything I do is woodlands, but this gentleman I'm going to speak to today is called Stephen Thornton. Stephen is a good long-term friend of mine. I've known him since the back of the day when I worked in a bakery in Leith in Edinburgh, and we both kind of have kind of the same kind of principles in life and how we look at things, and we kind of got together through social media after not seeing each other from a good 15 years or so. So I'm going to be quiet and pass you over to Stephen Thornton, and yeah, he's going to talk about his journey into macro photography. And please check out his Instagram when you get the chance. Until then, cheery bye.
So, a good few years ago, I bought a new DSLR, as a lot of photographers do, because they think that, you know, I want to do photography. Took a couple of shots, went, nah, this is nae for me, and put it back in the box and forgot about it. A wee while back, I met back up with Paul again. We got back in touch through social media, and Paul got talking about his photography. At the time he was doing mostly landscape, street photography, and said, you know, you want to come out with me, and if you got the camera, why no come out with me? So I did, and it was very nice and educational, because the information that actually Paul knows is absolutely, yeah, it's knowledge. So I did do it, and I got into it, and I done a bit of landscape photography, I done a bit of street photography, but you just know it's not for you. When it's not for you, it's not for you. So I think I had a wee break. I see on our journeys, I think Paul had a wee break as well. Anyway, and then the story began with COVID. So during the time when COVID hit, I was actually working in a bakery, which has always been my passion in life. It's always been my job. But when COVID hit, the company I worked for and supplied done all the hotels and surrounding restaurants and that in Edinburgh. So my world came to an end. And to let you understand, when your world comes to an end, when you've kept your life busy, and I'm sure everybody can identify with this, is your whole world just crashes round about you. I still had the camera, but by this time the DSLR and Paul's help had educated me enough to get back interested in nature photography. So I was doing wildlife, I was just starting to do macro photography, but not being educated enough. So I started looking into people online, and I educated myself on YouTube. So when I educated myself on YouTube, I started looking at certain people who did with the camera that I use, to see what the best settings or the best thing to get and what they were using, so I could do it, but on my budget, because COVID and no money, you were doing it on a very short budget. So I started going out during COVID and just going for a walk, not even with a camera to start off with, because I was always a very busy person and I would miss loads on walks, absolutely loads. But what COVID did was slow me right down and appreciate even nature. I've always appreciated nature, but I've appreciated nature 200-300% more than what I did when I was younger, growing up, and you know, in my teenage years, and when I got older. And now or I'm not even going to say now because it was back then, my photography took from wildlife into macro, so just specifically insects. So when you're doing insect photography, you might, to start off with, is take 5 meters, just 5 meters square, and see what insects you can find on trees and bushes and the grass, under leaves, if you feel like going under leaves. A lot of people feel a wee bit with that. But there is tons and tons of insects in Scotland, and you can't appreciate just how many there is. And I educated myself through YouTube, and then met people when I was out on wildlife walks and stuff like that with myself before COVID that I met and made connections with, but managed to keep in touch with social media and see what they were still doing, because, you know, and a lot of people actually went to macro photography, and it's so interesting. Because I have type 1 diabetes, I have a lot of this stuff on me. So this is glucose. It's liquid glucose, fast acting, so if you're having a hypo, your blood glucose comes up. But the secondary beneficial part of it is it's liquid. So what you do, and there's this wee guy here is a bee that's stuck out with hardly any pollen these days, and yeah, everybody will be like, yeah, but it's got to die anyway in nature and that. But if we can help bees in any way we can, so the best way you can do, we actually put a tiny wee bit of sugar on it and see if you can get their mandibles. I'm going to see if I can turn this guy round and just let them lick. And obviously they'll, because they feel you vibrating, but eventually they'll smell that glucose, and he's cleaning it off him. I'm going to see if I can get some and just put it on this flower. Eventually, bees are a bit silly sometimes. Now, what you'll see is, you'll actually see them, and I'm going to see if I can get him on this and get some sugar into his mandibles. And now, I'm going to see if I can get him to climb and just take a wee drink. No, mate, didn't go in it. I want you to cut, that's it. So I want him to be in situ still, but I'm saying him. And he can smell the glucose. He can taste it. What I'm going to do, without disturbing him too much, I'm going to let him sit in my... I'm going to see if I can get him to just take a wee bit liquid, if he'll let me, because like I said, he's cold and he's stupid. If you think a bee is maybe... Oh, come on pal, you can actually, with a glove, oh, there we go. Now this will take probably about 10 minutes, because it doesn't look like he's actually doing much. But if you take your time with a bee, because they're not stupid, and you can't actually see this, but he will be sitting there drinking that. There we go. Their tongue is actually minute, it's thin, and you can't see it with the naked eye unless you've got glasses on like me, but he's actually drinking that. I don't know if Paul's picking that up or not. And this is the hard part. It can take anything between 10 and 20 minutes for them to actually, for that glucose to actually kick in. But usually it's quite quick. And that's just enough. If you feel like doing this, that's just enough for them to get enough sugar in them to go and find some pollen. Alright, there you go, wee man. You can see that? And every time you're lucky, you stop in the pool. Right. Now I don't like doing this, shooting a bee in situ, but see the flashing light? It can actually bring them alive a wee bit more. Now he's licking that. Now I'm going to get this photo and I'll send it with Paul. Now I don't know if Paul can see that or not, but the actual bee's tongue is right out and it's licking that glucose. Now they will probably fly away in a few seconds. And what I'm saying to you is never be scared to help a bee. Nature, I just love it. Basically his back is pulsing. And what happens when the back is pulsing, I think, it's only what I've seen, is I think it's a way of happiness. It's like, it's also when they're really hot, but basically that's him breathing, or it breathing. I don't know if it's a male or female, I don't know the difference, I'm not that educated enough. However, he or she is souping up all that glucose. Now what that does to me is within 10 minutes my glucose level is back up again, so it, with that amount of glucose, it'll probably charge it up like a charged bee. He probably won't move until I actually move him off. But yeah, you can see him coming to life compared to what he was like 2 or 3 minutes ago and what he is now. It's just amazing. There we go, he's actually cleaning the back now. He's heating his cell up. To see it in situ and to see this in front of you when you help a bee like this, my heart just warms up. Oh, there you go. He's looking about, he's cleaning his cell, preening his cell, getting ready. You ready to go, pal? Yeah? You ready to go? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you back on the floor. There you go. So I would say, if I had any information to give you for what I've learnt since my journey started, is if you've got yourself a camera somewhere and you want to get out to nature in any shape or form, whether it be street photography, whether it be landscape, where it be insects, where it be whatever. There are so many different things. Abstract photography is another one. Anyway, what I find is educate yourself. And the one thing that everybody always told me, especially Paul, was glass. And it's the one thing that you learn, is having a really good piece of glass lens in front of your camera will make such a difference. So when you look at a spider, human eye won't find out, but when you look at macro photography, the amount of hairs, the eyes, and even a lot of people don't know that a spider has 8 to 10 eyes, some have 6. If you have a look at a photograph of a spider on Instagram or whatever, Facebook, whatever, and you see that spider's eye is white, it looks white and silver and glossy, it means it's blind in that eye. And that is something that I like to show to people. They just say, oh, it's a creepy spider, but the amount of hairs, the amount of detail, the amount of whiskers that it has, and this insect must have so much feed Could you imagine just being like that? I know we have a lot of hair as a human being, but you imagine actually having a whisker, because us men actually understand what a whisker feels like when it goes in the wrong way. But spiders, they must have the same thing. Flies are the exact same. The amount of hairs that are on bumblebees, the amount of colour, the amount of detail. And this is what I like to show people. And I like to show people, this is in Scotland. There's so many insects in Scotland that could be photographed in Malaysia, in really hot countries, but it's not, it's Scotland. And this is what I like to educate people with, and to show them the amount of detail and how fascinating it is. Whether it's a spider and you go, oh my God, that looks so big. At the end of the day, you've got to still remember this is only about 3 to 6 millimeters, you know, in body. It's all eggs, and they're so fascinating. Now this is a big dome, right? It's a diffuser, and what that does is it makes the light more subtle. It lights it with diffusion. I don't know how people can understand that, but it makes it, instead of a harsh light like the sun where you'll get a spot on the eye, the diffuser makes it smooth, so you get a nice mellow defining light that you can use, and the insect looks more natural to what the human eye will see, because the human eye can't pick up that, oh, you've got a large spot on there, because it comes for the flash and things like that, and the diffuser just does that. It makes it a nicer light, and you'll appreciate it. To actually go up to an insect, you have to approach it almost like you were approaching a scared dog. You don't put your hands out to it, you don't, you know, make sudden moves. You try not, which is, if you're a macro photographer, you'll ken what I'm going to say next, is you put your foot on a branch and the subject's on a nice flower. You put your foot on a branch and it moves the flower, and your subject's then gone. I would say my active is Instagram. Mm-hmm. So Macanthus alba, which is actually Scottish Gaelic for macro Scotland.
It's been really good. So thank you, Stephen. It's been a real pleasure, my man.
You too, Paul. Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Never a chore.
Always a chore.
Thank you.